Iron Maiden's fan-favorite album gained massive success and launched the band as far as the eye could see worldwide. The two singles from the last album, Run to the Hills and Number the Beast, produced two very successful music videos on MTV, and their longtime friend Nico McBrain was featured in the Number the Beast music video as the Devil. The drummer Clive Burr started to crack up live from the relentless touring, and was then asked to leave Iron Maiden. Their longtime friend Nico McBrain was a great progressive drummer from the band Trust and was asked to join Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden gained a more progressive rock edge. Nico is considered a crazy, energetic, fun-loving, amazing drummer. And with Nico McBrain, Iron Maiden finally have what many fans hail to be the classic Iron Maiden lineup. This time, Iron Maiden would record in one of their most classic places, the Bahamas, where they spent a lot of time there practicing and just dicking around, and finally producing some classic songs with Martin Birch. The album also produced two very successful singles, one of them being Flight of Icarus, and the other being the Iron Maiden classic, The Trooper. The album and many things surrounding it had a lot of puns about the brain. There was Nico McBrain. They decided for the artwork to have Eddie be lobotomized. And at the end, they decided to call the album Peace of Mind. And there's even a brain on the CD. The album became very successful and went number 3 in the UK. They toured relentlessly again. And Bruce was arrested for pulling the top off the female dancer that was featured when they played 22 Acacia Avenue live. And to end this legendary World Peace Tour, they played the Heavy Metal Night at the Dortmund. They completely destroyed other acts such as Ozzy Osbourne, Scorpions, and Priest. They didn't even stand a chance. And at the end, they killed Eddie with their guitars and ripped out his brain. This is the classic Peace of Mind. So we move on to Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind, which came out in 1983. The artwork is just a majestic piece of art from Derek Riggs. This time we have Eddie lobotomized, he's got his brain taken out or something, or a piece of his brain, a piece of mind if you will, and he's in a straitjacket and his legs look all weird and shit. And now we get Nico McBrain, who was with the band in the past, just as like a friend and stuff from Trust, and he is a very progressive drummer. At first listen, you'd think he's playing sloppily and half-assing a lot of stuff, but he's just playing everything he can. He's playing everything on the set, literally. People have called him an octopus. His drumming is very incoherent. I'd find it kind of hard to follow it if I were the guitarists and stuff like that. But I guess Steve Harris, the bass player, is driving the entire song, so they're kind of following him. But his drumming is so sporadic, it's actually really cool. Adrian, he's not really featured too much in this album, so I'm not going to talk too much about him. The production, it sounds a lot less heavy and bluesy and more refined and melodic, more rock sounding. So in this album they experiment with a lot of progressive and melodic additions to their music. Every song has a crazy melodic part to it, and every middle section is kind of progressive. They have these really cool middle sections that are very diverse. So let's get to the first track. The first one is Where Eagles Dare, which is kind of like the precursor to the first track on the next album, Aces High. They're both about dogfights, and it's pretty cool. There's even sections, I believe, of both where they have gunfire in the background from the planes. Now, Nico does not like to use double bass. I think he's only used it once or twice, but he didn't even use it on this song at all. It took him a really long time to learn this song because it was so intricate, and he only used one double bass, so he had to do like triplets and shit really fast. He actually had to develop that with the band. So the song starts out with his drumming, and we get to this really cool anthemic riff, I guess you could say. And Bruce's vocals are really cool in this one as well. For the most part, he hits some really great highs as well. And the chorus and verse sound really great. So we've got our standard kind of verse-chorus thing going on. The drums really do drive the song the entire time. You'd think it'd be the bass because Steve actually showed him the bass riff or whatever. Nico actually follows it on the drums. But the drums, I think, sound even more technical than the bass on it. And so then all of a sudden we get this really cool change in the riff. So we start to get these progressive changes. And then we get into this awesome solo section in the middle. And it's this really echoey, slow solo from Dave. while you have the airplanes battling in the background with the sound effects. It sounds really cool. Then we have this cool build-up with the drums, building up this whole fucking progressive part, and then we get even more transitions. And it actually takes a while to get back into the final verse and chorus. So overall, Where Eagles Dare, probably one of the best off the whole album. Then we get to the second song, Revelations. Now here's a lot to talk about. The first writing credit from Bruce Dickinson. This is actually solely written by him, and when they play it live, there's this melody thing where both guitars are playing together, and he actually has to use a third guitar. He used to, at least. So he'd play guitar for that part live, which is really rare. It never happens anymore because they have Yannick. So this song is about the Bible, I believe, because they were getting a lot of criticism from Christians who were burning Number of the Beast and thinking they're all Satan worshippers. So he decided to make a song about the Bible. So this song has a lot of great melodic riffs. The lyrics are very great as well. Probably some of the best on the entire album. Maybe even the best on the entire album. In fact, yes, the best lyrics on the entire album. So for the most part, the main riff is kind of simple, but there's so many changes to the music. It gets a little bit heavier as well. And then there's this really cool part, the first part, the dual melodies. You have Dave and Adrian playing solo together, and Bruce doing the rhythm. And at that point, you have Bruce getting like this soft type of singing voice. It's really beautiful. And then it gets heavy again, real fierce. Bruce is screaming as high as he possibly can. And then it just returns to the melodies again. After the teasing, we finally get to the middle section. The song's moving really fast. Then we get a solo from Dave Murray and then Adrian Smith as well. There's a lot of cool changes, a lot of frantic riffs back and forth. Really cool, really great song, very diverse in structure, and I still haven't really memorized the song after religious amount of listens to it. It keeps on giving, to be honest with you, and I keep liking it the more I listen to it. Then we move on to Flight of Icarus. It took me a while to get into this. Bruce is singing really well. One of my gripes, here we go, the chorus. Kind of annoying. I get more into it the more I listen to it, but it has a lot of backing vocals as well to it, so it's like this sort of Queen type of singing together thing, and it always just kind of grinded on my gears. Not too much though. It just sounded a little cheesy. So after standard verse chorus, we actually get a really cool quick middle section. We get a bunch of solos from Dave Murray and Adrian Smith and some really great riffs and middle section. Every middle section has a really catchy and memorable riff. Then we get to Die With Your Boots On, which is about people thinking the world's gonna end all the time, and it's a lot of metaphorical shit. My gripe right away with the song is I'm not a big fan of the verse. It feels a little shoehorned and underdeveloped. It doesn't really fit the rest of the song, but the bridge is really catchy and builds up this great chorus that's really badass. And the riff during the chorus is very catchy and very badass. Then we get to the middle section, which is really cool. Starts abruptly with a Dave Murray solo. And then after great soloing from him, a lot of sweeping like he usually does, then we get to this really catchy, memorable, epic riff where Bruce is just screaming, they died with their boots on, just over and over. And then we get this epic Adrian Smith solo, probably one of the only memorable ones from this album from him, because like I said, Dave does almost twice as many solos as him on the album. So overall, Die With Your Boots On is a pretty great song. I love this one, I've always have. Then we get to The Trooper. This is a classic right here, written by Steve Harris. Classic just like Run to the Hills, probably way better than Run to the Hills. The bass drives this one the entire time, of course. And we get a lot of great lead guitar melodies, especially in the beginning. That whole classic Iron Maiden Trooper riff. Bruce, this is probably one of the hardest songs for him to sing, like normally and live. Even back then he had trouble singing it for the album and live. So this and Hallowed Be Thy Name, I'm pretty sure are his hardest songs to sing. The lyrics are a key role to this song's performance and delivery. The lyrics are just delivered in such a way that if the music was even more simplistic, the song would still be equally good and equally classic. And Bruce is probably the most important part of it, to be honest with you. Then we get to a somewhat quick middle section. It is the, single big hit song, so not too long. There's some cool riffs though here and there. and mostly just solo Dave, Adrian, back and forth. I believe it's Dave first, or sorry, Adrian first, then Dave. Here's probably the one weakness of the song. The chorus is a little lackluster. You'd think they'd have like some cool lyrics to the chorus. It's just vocal melodies, just oh, 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 oh. Still Life, not sure what this one's about. There's some theories that it's about Lord of the Rings. And some could argue that's the title track because Bruce says, give me peace of mind in like a weird voice. I don't know why they just name it Peace of Mind. They never say Still Life in the song. The song begins really weirdly because once again they were making fun of the whole their devil worshippers thing. At the beginning, Nico does like a backwards message so that people would, go back mask it or whatever, go like, oh god, what do they have here? And it's just him doing an impersonation of some like Saudi Arabian, like some African king. He's like, don't meddle with things you do not understand. This one is also a Dave Murray song. It begins a little bit quiet though, real melodic guitars. It took me a while to get into it because I originally thought it was boring. But of course now I love the shit out of it. The vocals are going perfectly with the lead guitars. Then all of a sudden we erupt into this heavier song. And I love the whole part where they're yelling madness together. And that's kind of like the chorus, I guess. The verse is really meaningful. And we get to the middle section, which is all over the place. The song kind of has some weird spots everywhere. There's some cool changes. There's a solo from Dave Murray. Then there's a solo from both of them together in the middle section. And I think another solo from Adrian, Dave. There's about maybe 4 solos in this whole song. It's very crazy. A lot of melodies. It's really beautiful. And I love all the build-ups with the drums. The drums really help the song out as well. Quest for Fire, which is about cavemen. First of all, lyrical theme. Why? So there we go, lyrics, bad. And the cheesy freaking meter is off the charts on this song. Especially with the way Bruce sings it. He sings these really high notes in the verse that sound awkward. The song is really slow-paced and boring. It feels like a dumbed-down Iron Maiden song, to be quite honest with you. So everything just sounds nails on a chalkboard. It's not completely awful, but it really gets annoying, especially those verses where Bruce is singing like overly high, over-boring music. The chorus is okay, and the middle section is kind of cool, but doesn't feel inspired at all. It feels unoriginal, uninspired. Kind of feels like Steve's ripping himself off for the most part. And the solos don't really sound that interesting either. Then we get to Sun and Steel. This one has a very great upbeat riff. Intro, verse for the most part, keeps on going, keeps it upbeat, and like, okay, yeah, I like this. Really cool lyrics. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting excited for this song. And then the chorus comes in. Now, a lot of people who like this song seem to like the chorus. For me, it's really annoying. Kind of that same problem with Flight of Icarus for me, but even more worse because the melodies don't work at all together. Makes me want to hit a baby on a brick wall. That's how much it annoys me. Then it goes into the middle section, which is pretty cool and has some nice catchy riffs and great soloing. Actually, it even has a dual solo and then a Dave solo. Kind of memorable, but not in a good way. It gets really annoying, especially at the end when they keep repeating the chorus over and over and over. Now we get to Tame a Land, kind of a controversial Iron Maiden song, the epic off the album. It was originally supposed to be called Dune, and they were going to get like the rights to put the name on the song or whatever. The author would not let them. In fact, he even said a couple mean things about Maiden and metal, and kind of screwed his career over by doing that. The lyrics are still about Dune, and it even says Dune in there, but the title is To Tame the Land. I think Dune would have been a little bit cooler, but who cares? To Tame the Land's pretty awesome, to be honest with you. The real eyesore to this song is some of the lyrics. They're not very good. Usually Steve works best when he's writing metaphorically and poetically and stuff like that. It really helps you get into the story, like Rime of the Ancient Mariner. It's based off the poem that tells the story very, very well and really drags you into it. Same with Hallowed Be Thy Name, especially. The first part of this one, the first verse, I'll say, does that perfectly in my opinion. really drags you in. It kind of has some good metaphors, and it could have gotten better with the second verse, even dragged you in more and it would have become successful. And there's two big problems with this song. One, the second verse is lazy as hell. It seems like Steve is just trying to give a shitty summary of the book series, like the leader of some shitty group, and like goes with weird names like the Mabuja. He's trying to get the Gerard Habad, and he was born of Caladan. It really makes no sense. But the music on this song is just so incredible, and I think the bridge where it builds up to the middle section, and technically I guess part of the middle section still, completely rejuvenates the song. The lyrics are at its complete best, and it's building up to this giant climax, and I really like that. There's no in-depth bullshit in that whole section. Once again, returning to great metaphorical lyrics. So the beginning though, let's return to the beginning, is actually really cool. It has this interesting melodic buildup, and there's even these kind of weird notes that you'd think sound off-key, off-kilter a little bit. And it's interesting because they're using like different type of scales that way, you know. You'd think it would sound good here, but instead they do it here, and it still works, but it sounds, you think, that sounds different. When the song begins, we have these cool type of breezes in the background. The bass is heavy as hell throughout the entire song. The riffs are really cool. The song's very progressive, changes all the time. Now, before we get to the whole build-up part, there's actually this really cool lead part that Dave does. I really enjoyed that. It's kind of intricate. Overall, though, I wouldn't say it's a better epic than Hell Be Thy Name, but it's damn close. It's still a very great song. So after that great build-up, Bruce gets more fierce and more fierce. It's like he's climbing a ladder, and then he hits that real high note. The song just explodes in really progressive, crazy section. There's a lot of changes, lead parts. The bass changes all the time. There's solos from Adrian and Dave. Both of them are very good. Dave uses a lot of Mid-Eastern sounding stuff, and Adrian kind of does too, but he's fusing a little bit with blues. But it sounds really great. Both solos fit the song perfectly. Probably the best solos off the entire album as well. And then we get a sort of dual lead part at the very end where it goes back and forth. Sort of like a battle, epic conclusion type of thing going on. And then we return to the beginning of the song where it's all quiet again. I think this song is very great. It's very underrated as well.